Blake Lively genuinely seemed convinced she was going to walk away from this entire controversy, still viewed as Hollywood's flawless sweetheart. But honestly, the way everything completely unraveled around her deserves its own case study. Because now more and more people are starting to wonder whether Ryan Reynolds quietly managed to shield his own reputation while Blake ended up taking every single public hit alone. And after hearing one PR analyst explain the situation step by step, suddenly the whole scandal starts looking completely different. So apparently, crisis communication expert Molly McPherson, and trust me, this woman understands celebrity media manipulation better than almost anyone talking online right now, released a massive breakdown of the Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni situation. And according to Molly, the biggest storyline here may not even involve Justin Baldoni anymore. It may actually revolve around Ryan Reynolds himself. But before we get into Ryan, let's talk about Blake, because this entire comeback era is clearly not going the way her team expected. Blake recently appeared at a high-profile Fendi event in New York looking like she was trying to announce, "I'm still beloved, Hollywood hasn't turned on me." Designer outfit hugging every angle, giant polished smile, cameras flashing non-stop, luxury magazine coverage everywhere, the full celebrity rehabilitation package. You could almost hear the PR engine working overtime trying to convince the public that Blake was still the untouchable Gossip Girl fashion icon everyone adored. But social media immediately rejected it. And honestly, people online were ruthless. Everywhere photos of Blake appeared, the comment sections exploded instantly. Team Justin Baldoni flooded the posts. People kept writing things like, "Why is she acting victorious? Didn't that lawsuit quietly disappear? And what exactly did she prove?" Because that's the one detail nobody can really erase from public memory. Blake launched this enormous lawsuit. Headlines dominated entertainment media for months. Her legal team pushed non-stop narratives. And for a while it genuinely looked like Justin Baldoni's Hollywood career was over. Then suddenly, settlement. Quietly. No huge courtroom triumph. No overwhelming evidence revealed publicly. No dramatic Hollywood redemption arc. And the internet absolutely noticed the shift. That's why this entire glamorous rebrand now feels awkward to so many people watching online. Every single time Blake smiles for paparazzi cameras, it almost reminds the public about the lawsuit again instead of helping people forget it. Ironically, the PR strategy itself may actually be keeping the controversy alive. And this is exactly what Molly McPherson started pointing out. Apparently, Molly studied actual media tracking analytics, including professional sentiment reports, and reviewed more than 22,000 articles connected to this controversy. We're talking online publications, podcasts, social media discussions, celebrity coverage. Literally everything. And according to Molly, the data was shocking. Out of Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds, and Justin Baldoni, Blake ended up with the worst public sentiment by far. Think about that for a second. The person who initiated the lawsuit somehow walked away looking worse publicly than the man she accused. From a PR perspective, that's almost unbelievable. Molly basically explained that this wasn't a media strategy succeeding. It was a reputation strategy imploding in real time. But then she revealed the detail that really made people stop and think. She explained that when you examine the media word associations tied to each celebrity, Ryan Reynolds barely has this lawsuit attached to his public image at all. Ryan's headlines still revolve around Deadpool, Wrexham, soccer ownership, Hugh Jackman, business success, comedy interviews, charming husband branding, and celebrity charisma. Meanwhile, Blake's coverage became almost entirely lawsuit, controversy, backlash, legal drama, settlement failure, public criticism, and online outrage. Same marriage, same scandal. Completely different reputational outcomes. And that's where Molly's entire theory becomes extremely uncomfortable. Because according to her analysis, somebody inside that relationship was clearly being protected by the machine, while somebody else was left standing directly in front of the public firestorm. 2. And once Molly said that out loud, people immediately started re-examining Ryan Reynolds' behavior throughout this entire controversy from a completely different perspective. Because if you really think about it, Ryan absolutely involved himself in this situation whenever it served his interests. Alleged leaked emails suggested he was heavily participating behind the scenes. Reports claimed he contacted agencies directly. Other stories accused him of influencing professional decisions connected to the fallout. He wasn't simply some quiet husband standing silently behind his wife while chaos unfolded around them. Ryan Reynolds was deeply woven into the entire storm. But then people began noticing something strange. Every time the backlash became especially intense, every time social media anger reached a boiling point, every time Blake was getting absolutely destroyed online, Ryan somehow always seemed slightly removed from the damage, even during major moments. And Molly pointed to what she believed was the clearest example of all: Met Gala week. Because apparently the settlement news dropped during the exact same media cycle as the Met Gala coverage. Blake was everywhere giving interviews, discussing empowerment, talking about strength, resilience, refusing to stay silent. All of those carefully polished PR talking points. But Ryan Reynolds, completely absent, not standing beside her, not publicly defending her, not appearing next to his wife during what was arguably the biggest reputation crisis of her career. And according to Molly, that silence spoke volumes. Because in Hollywood crisis management, optics are everything. Timing is everything. Public appearances matter more than people realize. And Ryan staying invisible while Blake absorbed the full embarrassment alone immediately made industry watchers suspicious. Especially because earlier in the controversy, Ryan clearly had no issue making himself visible. But the second the narrative started turning radioactive, Blake suddenly appeared isolated while Ryan's personal brand remained oddly untouched. And honestly, once you start viewing the situation through that angle, it stops feeling like a normal celebrity lawsuit and starts feeling more like a carefully managed survival operation happening inside a Hollywood marriage. Because Molly raised another point that people online now cannot stop discussing. She explained there's a huge difference between publicity and actual crisis management. And apparently Blake Lively's team confused those two concepts in the worst possible way. And honestly, the explanation was savage. Molly basically said that if your main objective is headlines, visibility, attention, and non-stop media exposure, then congratulations, you're doing publicity. But if your objective is protecting somebody's reputation long after the scandal fades away, that's crisis management. Completely different skill set. And according to Molly, Blake's team kept prioritizing visibility instead of protecting Blake herself. That's why almost every move ended up backfiring publicly. 'Cause think about it. Every glamorous paparazzi walk, every designer outfit article, every Vogue style feature, every Blake is reclaiming her confidence narrative only forced the public to think about the lawsuit again. The audience never received enough distance to mentally disconnect Blake from the controversy. The scandal stayed permanently attached to her image every single day. Meanwhile, Ryan Reynolds somehow avoided carrying most of that baggage publicly. And now people are asking whether that separation happened naturally, or whether it was carefully orchestrated. Because Ryan's brand never really paused at all. Deadpool headlines continued. Wrexham coverage continued. Charming businessman Ryan continued. Funny interview Ryan continued. Sports owner Ryan continued. It almost felt like his personal machine quietly kept operating in the background while Blake became the emotional shield absorbing all the public damage herself. And Molly's theory becomes even more complicated once she starts discussing Leslie Sloan. For people unfamiliar with celebrity PR politics, Leslie Sloan is one of the most powerful publicists in Hollywood. Huge influence, massive connections. And apparently Leslie has a reputation for distancing herself from celebrities right before scandals spiral completely out of control. Molly referenced stars like Britney Spears and Lindsay Lohan, pointing out that Leslie reportedly stepped away when those public narratives became impossible to contain. But with Blake, Leslie stayed involved. And the second Molly pointed that out, people immediately started asking one huge question: why? And Molly's explanation basically came down to one person, Ryan Reynolds. Because in Hollywood terms, Ryan is the far more valuable asset. His career is enormous, his companies are enormous, and the amount of money connected to his name is enormous. Protecting Ryan means protecting the entire empire they built together. And once Molly said that, people online immediately started piecing everything together. Because if you really look at how this whole scandal unfolded, Blake was constantly pushed into public view while Ryan only appeared when it strategically helped him. Blake became the emotional center of the controversy. Blake became the punching bag. Blake became the meme. Blake became the lightning rod for public anger. Meanwhile, Ryan somehow remained Ryan Reynolds. And honestly, when you think about how publicly attached they are as a couple, that dynamic feels incredibly strange. Then Andy from Popcorn Planet asked the question most people were too nervous to say openly. Was Blake essentially sacrificed to protect the Reynolds brand? Now, before anyone twists this into Blake being completely innocent, absolutely not. Blake made countless mistakes herself. People still remember those awkward interviews where she sounded dismissive and arrogant. They remember the aggressive media strategy. They remember how dramatically the lawsuit was presented at first compared to how quietly it ended. They remember how overly confident her camp acted during the early stages. So nobody is arguing Blake is some powerless victim in this story. What people are questioning is whether Blake and Ryan were really operating equally behind closed doors. Because the further this scandal develops, the more Ryan starts looking like the calculated strategist, making sure his own future stayed protected first. And honestly, Hollywood marriages operate like this all the time. People forget celebrity relationships are also business arrangements. Reputation equals money. Public image equals money. Brand deals equal money. Movies equal money. Ryan Reynolds is arguably one of the most bankable men in entertainment today. Studios trust him. Companies trust him. Investors trust him. Sports audiences trust him. If one person in that relationship needed to survive publicly, it was probably always going to be Ryan. And that leads into the uncomfortable conversation nobody really wants to have. Because Andy also suggested something fascinating. Maybe Blake herself understood Ryan's image mattered more financially than her own. Maybe she realized his earning power was the engine keeping their entire empire running. Maybe she believed she could absorb the backlash temporarily, while Ryan stayed protected enough to keep everything stable behind the scenes. And honestly, that theory would not shock me at all. Hollywood couples make these calculated choices constantly. One person takes the damage while the other preserves the business. The problem is Blake's reputation collapse became far worse than anyone anticipated. Much worse. This stopped being simple internet gossip months ago. It turned into relentless backlash where audiences genuinely started disliking her on a personal level. And in Hollywood, once the public emotionally turns against you, fixing that becomes incredibly difficult. That's why this image rehabilitation campaign feels desperate to so many people online. Blake's team seems determined to rush audiences back into supporting her before people have naturally moved on from the controversy. But audiences do not function that way anymore. People recognize manufactured PR instantly now. That's why every paparazzi appearance, every smiling fashion moment, every carefully planned public outing keeps getting criticized instead of praised. The audience no longer feels authenticity coming from Blake. They feel management. And honestly, that may be the biggest mistake in this entire situation. Because the internet can forgive flawed celebrities all the time. What audiences cannot stand is feeling emotionally manipulated.